Okay, so here's the set, and you should probably take this card. I mean, we know Evolving Wilds. So what I want to do here is I want to go to the advanced, and I'm going to go into the commons and uncommons, because that's what you'll see most frequently in draft. We'll go over the rares and mythics next time. All right, so we want bro. Hey, bro. Search. All right. Sorted by color. All right, so here we go. So let's take a look at these and evaluate them based on how we think they will perform in limited and how high a pick we think we should take them. Yeah, seriously, bruh. Why? Why, bruh? Let me move it over slightly so I can see the chat. Yay. Okay. All right, so we have Aeronaut Cavalry. Yeah, soldiers I've seen are a theme in this. There are some really freaking wacky soldier cards. The weird thing is they seem to be, some of the, like, the land is white blue. The rare soldier land is white blue. And that doesn't make any sense because there really aren't that many soldiers in blue. So that one is weird to me. So let's take a look at this cavalry. It's a 3/4 flyer for 5, which these days is not actually that great stats. But at common, it might be fine. Yeah, blue-white seems to be the soldier cards. It's so strange. So we're going to have to see about... So as you saw in the most recent set on DMU, the 3/4 uncommon flyer at 5 was not very good. It could be kicked to become a 5/6 flyer for 7, and it still wasn't great. It was okay. And it was actually low on the pick order. So aren't blue soldiers yet? Good point. They've been messing with, I mean, when I first played, vampires were in black, and that was it. No vampires in any other color. And then they made them red, and I was like, wait, what is this? Maybe. Okay, fine. Then they made them white, and I was like, this is not okay at all. And then I think they made blue for Capenna, and I was like, what does a green vampire look like? Like, how is this gonna... Are you gonna do 5-color vampire? What? Anyway. Magic boomer here. Anyway. So this used to be a good, really good stat. But these days, it's less good because, you know, for example, in Dominaria, you had the blue Sphinx that was a 3/4, the Cloud Reader, that scryed 2. Great. Okay, sorry, that was great. Green vampire sucks veggie juice. Carrot juice. Have you ever heard the song "Carrot Juice Constitutes Murder"? It's fantastic. The chorus is like, "Carrot juice constitutes murder. Greenhouses, prisons for slaves." Oh God, what's the next one? Something. You know, let's call a spade a spade. It was just hilarious. Yeah, and it's just a fantastic song. So if you want to look it up, it's one of the better parodies out there. It's so good. Or comedic songs anyway. Vegetable rights, yeah. So it is very clever. I love it. But anyway, so we're used to getting, like, you know, a blue flyer for this, but also scry 2. This may be enough, but usually for this effect, we're usually getting a 3/3 that makes something else flying, which is, I think, better than a +1/+1 counter, and it has to be on another target soldier, right? So what if you have this and this in play? This is not getting value. So I'm a little hesitant to think that this is... I mean, there have to be just like a million soldiers, and you have to be guaranteed a soldier for this to find full value. Alternatively, maybe the flyers in this game, or the removal is just... in this set, flyers or the removal in this set is not very strong, in which case this will be a lot bigger. Aster, so we're just getting to the set review, so I haven't seen exactly how many soldiers are in blue, but the fact that it is in blue, it seems wrong to me, because traditionally soldiers are only in white, and I don't know what's going on, why they make soldiers blue, but I know that the blue-white rare land, because that was posted on Twitter, is a soldier land, so, like, tribal. So this one does not impress me currently, but let's see what the rest of the set goes for. So this is not going to be a high pick for me currently. We want to see how much removals in the set, and we also want to see whether there's an overwhelming preponderance of soldiers in white, so that such that this will always get value. Or in white blue, I got to see if there's going to be blue soldiers. Sorry. Okay. Airlift Chaplain, 3 mana for a 1/1 flyer. Not great stats. Let's see what it does. Mill 3 cards. You can put a plains card or a creature card with mana value 3 or less from among the cards milled this way into your hand. If you don't, get a 2/2 flyer. Oh, I actually really like this. Okay. So its fail case is a Windrake. And that fail case, you can choose to have it be a Windrake as opposed to getting value off the next thing. Okay, I like this card. I don't think it's like, it's certainly not first pickable. It's probably a low middle pick. But I like it. It's fine. Greenhouse Prison for Safe. Time to stop all this gardening. That's the one. Yes, it's so great. So this is good. Yeah, I like this. I like this card a lot. And we're going to see whether graveyard synergies are a huge thing in something that can combine well with white. Yes, we have just started. Yes. We're going to see if there's mill synergies, right? If there's graveyard synergies in something in a color that combines well with white. So this is going to be very, very interesting. Because filling graveyard synergies, this will be even higher as a pick. So it'll actually go up to like a mid pick, right? So I like this card so far. I am far more impressed with it than that. Ambush Paratrooper, flash flying 1/2 for, oh boy. And, okay, and a mana sink that pumps all creatures you control. Okay, so 5 to pump all the creatures you control without a color is actually cool. Because remember, we had the 3/2 in the latest set that pumped all our creatures +1/+1 as well. And it was pretty good when you could go wide. We're going to see how many token synergies this has. And soldiers tend to have token synergies. So this card may be a low middle pick too. 5 is not a lot in a stalled out limited game. This can really just get you there. It has flash too, which means your opponent has even less chance to respond to it before you get that value. So I actually think this card is decent. It is not obviously first pickable under any circumstance. I would give it a sort of similar pickability to no, it's better than this. It's better than this currently. I wouldn't take too many of them. Absolutely not. But it can get in for, I like cards that are useful early and late game, and this is one of them. Magic is doing, like, the developing team is doing an amazing job putting out creatures that are good early and late game. In the early game, a 1/1 flyer can get in for a bunch of points of damage, which may really be important for a soldier deck that kind of just turns things sideways, right? And then in the end, it's still useful, right? Because you don't just want that 1/1 flyer. Once they start putting out stuff, it's no longer useful. But this becomes useful in the late game as well. The other one, the 3/2 cost 5, and it was perfectly playable in DMU, right? And it didn't fly, and it didn't have flash. So there was more time for an opponent to respond to it. It had the same toughness. So I actually think this card is, definitely a higher pick than Dregs. But it's like, it's below this and above this for the first one, if that makes any sense. So, all right, Calamity's Wake, 1 and a white, exile all graveyards. Players can't cast non-creature spells this turn. Exile Calamity's Wake. Okay, if the graveyard stuff is really strong in this is going to be a really important sideboard card, possibly even main deckable in best of 1. I have to see what the graveyard synergies look like, though. If there isn't enough graveyard synergy, then this is not going to be worth playing. There will be edge cases when this will win you the game because you have an overwhelming force, and all you want to do is make sure, like, you just cast this on opponent's upkeep to make sure that they can't stop you from doing what you need to do via a spell, right? I think it has much more likelihood to be playable and constructed. But I need to see the graveyard. I don't want to, like, dismiss it without seeing the graveyard synergies first. There's a small chance that the graveyard synergies are so good that this has to be run. Like a copy of. It's if you're in white. Yeah, it's silence kinda in standard, yeah. Can't cast non-creature spells this turn. Like, that's important, right? And in limited, sometimes that's important too. Like, but the conditions have to be met, and it's harder to meet those conditions. So we'll see how this goes, whether it's a sideboard card, whether it's unplayable. Those are the two main options. The thing about Best of One is that sometimes you're going to have to main deck your sideboard cards. Like, for example, in New Capenna, you had to main deck Broken Wings if you had one, if you had no other interaction for flyers and for enchantments and flyers and artifacts. So I think it was enchantments or flyers. That was the main thing. So Deadly Riposte. 3 damage to target tapped creature. Ugh. All right, we're gonna have to see what the toughness level is on things. Normally, I don't like playing this kind of effect unless it does 4 damage. Because 3 is just not enough to spend 2 mana instant speed. And if the creature also has to be tapped, I'm not really a fan of this. But if there's a ton of low toughnesses in this format, then sure, it's just gonna be so easily blown out at 3 damage. I don't know. We'll see how this goes, but I don't think it's a high pick, even as a removal spell. We'll see if there's life gain synergies too. All right, Disenchant. That is in the main board, like main set, is interesting. That probably means that since this is Brothers War, we have a lot of artifacts and enchantments, and because it's Mishra and Urza going at each other, huh? So this might be definitely a one of those usual sideboard cards that actually has to come in, is worthy of coming in main board, just like the Destroy Evil, which was the 4 thing in there. So downshifting Lightning Helix to common. But it has to be tapped, and Lightning Helix could go face. Anyway, sorry. Great Desert Prospector. Great Balls of Fire. Okay, 5 mana, 3/2. Not impressive stats, but let's see. Enter the battlefield to create a tapped Power Stone. Whoa. That's a lot of acceleration, but it's at 5 mana for a 3/2. I'm not, and I don't know that these particular types will have synergies. I know Soldier. If it's a Soldier, I'd get excited about this, maybe. It can accelerate you a lot, but white usually isn't looking to accelerate that much. It's usually looking to destroy the opponent or have them mostly dead by this time. So we'll see about this. So far, I'm not impressed with it. This mana can't be so, but maybe if you're running, like, you know, if you're running a more mid-rangey white deck, maybe if whatever you're combining it with is sort of slower, we'll try it. But yeah, turn 5, like, 3/2, not so great. Battle cruisers in each color. Okay, well, we'll take a look. But anyway, for now, I'm a meh on this card. That can absolutely change based on the context of the set. Okay. Lay Down Arms. Exile target creature with mana value less than or equal to the... Ooh, situational. And its controller gains 3 life. So obviously you're going to want to do this in a deck that is predominantly white. I don't know how many double... we'll have to see what kinds of lands, dual type lands there are. And things with both, like, the multiple basic types, such that maybe you can do plains if you also have an island, etc. We'll see how that works. But this is definitely going to be playable, because one assumes that even in a white something deck, you have at least 2 plains. So It's a 1 mana 2 removal spell. It does give its controller 3 life, but yeah, and its sorcery speed is a little painful. I think it's probably okay. We'll see about this. I think it's probably I think it's probably quite good. We'll see whether it is better than I think, because I don't think it's, I mean, that's hard to see as first pickable unless this set is really kind of going for monocolor. We'll see how easy it is to go monocolor, in which case this is absolutely first pickable and you just like snap pick it to some degree. And how much recursion there is, because exile might be really important. But right now, I don't think it's bad. Right now, I think it's a high mid pick, but it might be a high pick. So let's save that one for later. Lauren, Disciple of History. 4 mana for a 3/3. That's a hill giant, but it has something that goes in. It's a legendary creature. There's multiple artificers that I'm seeing here, so that might actually be a type that we can benefit from later on. So whenever it or another legendary creature enters the battlefield on your control, return target another legendary creature. How many legendary creatures are there? Does anybody know? Return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. They probably made that. I mean, this card seems nuts if this is an artifact-based set, like I think it is. But it seems pretty good, because you already get to Gravedigg for an artifact card, and I think there are artifact creatures, which makes this a Gravedigger at 3, a 3/3 Gravedigger, right? So I think this card might be really, really pretty good. But it might even be stronger than I think it is, because I don't know how many legendary cards there are. Now we can do a sort and check later. But this seems very, very good to me. If I'm correct, I'm not certain because I haven't seen whatever is in this set. So we're gonna check. But I'm assuming there's a ton of artifacts and artifact creatures. In which case, I think already just grave digging is so good at 4 mana, like, and for a 3/3 body instead of like the 2/2 body that Gravedigger normally has. So, Lauren's Escape. Really? Tamios with Scry instead of gain 2? Ah. Tamios was permanent. This is artifact or creature. But this trick is going to be very good. I don't like hexproof. I'm gonna have to play around this card every single freaking game. It's so annoying. All right. This is a very good combat trick. Sorry, very good trick, period. Not combat trick. It's not a combat trick, necessarily. 24 legendary creatures. How many of them are common and uncommon? We'll see. But yeah, this is a good card. It's going to be picked at about the same rate as Tamiyo's Epiphany. It's not going to be super high, but it's also not a drag card. It's still good. So they don't usually come in common. Okay, so mostly uncommon. Okay, so like 3 uncommon and the rest are rare. Okay. So, but this still gets 1 Gravedigger thing, and I think that's enough, right? That's the rate you want. It's better than the normal rate for a Gravedigger. So I'm still a favorite fan of this card. I don't think you might get 2 uses out of it, but I think it's good enough with 1. I still think it's a high pick. So yeah, this is about the same as Tamiyo's Epiphany. It doesn't gain you the 2 life, which actually could change the course of the game. But yeah. 2 of them are the backside of Melded is back? Oh boy. All right, mass production. Create 4 for 6 mana at sorcery speed. They are artifact creature tokens. All right, I'm gonna have to come back to many of these cards once we see. But that is tokens, and again, that makes this card better. 6 mana for 4 power, but it is across 4 bodies, and it's 4 artifacts. So we'll see. We need to see the artifact synergies. And we need to see whether there's other mass pump. So, because 6 mana sorcery speed for this is not usually what white wants to do at all. Well, when you consider, like, at common we had Call, which was 4 mana for 3 bodies, right? It's interesting, but the 6 mana is pretty prohibitive for me on this one so far. I again, we just have to see what the artifact and stuff does. The thing about, well, I mean, no, Call of the what's it? You're talking about the Imperial Oath, which scryed 3 in addition to getting 3 bodies. Like, but the Call of the Cavalry, Captain's Call, that's what it was. Captain's Call did 3 1/1 bodies, soldiers. So that's what I meant there. So it's not that different in terms of ratio. It's a little bit like, but 6 mana is kind of prohibitive. We'll see this. Okay. Meticulous Excavation. Return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. If it has Unearth instead, exile it, then return that card to its owner. What? Are we trying to get ETB effects again? Oh, it's a way to bring back the Unearth cards. Got it. That makes sense. So Unearth is actually a theme in this? It's actually a mechanic? That's great. It's back? That's cool. Okay, so that might mean that this Calamity's Wake is playable. If Unearth is in this format, that might actually mean that ugh, I hate to say it, but we'll see. We'll have to see how much Unearth it is. It is a way to save Unearth. It's also a really good way to block a lot. So you have a little 1/1 creature, like, okay, block, return it to my hand. Oh, wait, activate only during your turn. Never mind. Never mind. Read the card. Okay. Summon every color? Yeah. Okay. Anyway. All right. Exile. So yeah. So this doesn't even do what I thought it did. It was going to be nutty if it did. But activate only during your turn. Yeah, that's a way of just saving the Unearth card. So we'll see about the strength of the Unearth cards. For 1 mana investment, it's not so bad to have this, I think. Given that Disenchant's in the format, it may be a little weaker than we'd like. But we'll check. Okay. Military Discipline. Enchanted creature gains first strike until end of turn and gets +1/+0. Flash enchant creature. Not a bad combat trick, but not a good one either. I'm not usually a fan of those just +1 and first strike once, because this is only until end of turn. If it kept the first strike, I'd be interested. I'd be very interested. Phalanx Vanguard. 2 mana, 2/2 bear, vigilance. Whenever an artifact is possible, okay. Okay, this could card out of hand. This might be another reason that the mass production is interesting too, because that's 4 artifact creature tokens, making this a 6/2 vigilance. So yeah, I can save an attacker. Yeah. So this is an interesting card. It'll probably be better than we think it is at first glance, because it does have vigilance and it does put pressure, most likely, because if this has as many artifacts as I think it might have, that you're going to be triggering it most turns. So it's going to be 2 mana 3/2 vigilance, which isn't that bad. So we'll see how about that. Power Stone Engineer, 2 for a 2/1. When it dies, create a tapped Power Stone target token. Meh. I'm gonna have to see how powerful Power Stone tokens are. They're probably pretty powerful, so I'm probably going to be taking this a little more highly than I normally would for those stats and that effect. Because it can't be cast. It can't cast a non-artifact spell. If this could cast anything, we'd just be like all over this card. But there's a lot of artifacts in this, so this might be a higher pick than it looks like. It might be a middle pick, right? It might not be Dregs at all, and it might not even be a low pick. Well, no, it has to die first. Do we have any sack effects in this? Oh, we'll see. Anyway. Power Stone for activated abilities. Ah. So we could do them for paratroopers. Yeah, this might be a middle pick. All right, prison sentence. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. Oh yeah, this is going to be a really high pick for removal in white. Well, really high pick. It's going to be a higher pick for removal in white. It's going to be high middle or low high, so to speak. On the low end of high for this. It is good. And it scries too, so it's arrest, but better. Because not only is it not double white, etc. It's a form of arrest, but then it scries too. That's pretty nice. Yeah. So, better arrest, recommission, 1 and a white, return target artifact or creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If a creature enters the battle, so its will its weight, and it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Interesting. It's not tapped, so that's okay. I don't think this is a high pick, but I think it's okay. Especially if you get some really nice things that you very much want to get. Like, actually, if you could get the Warlord's Elite back, that's pretty nice. Right? Get a 5/5, right? By just putting this back into play. And you don't have to pay the cost to cast, obviously. So I kind of like the recommission on the Warlord's Elite, but like I could see building a whole deck around that. That'd be interesting. But it's not great. So there are going to be times where this shines. There are going to be times when it's absolutely awful. But if you have like really, really powerful 1 to 3 drops, then, and a lot of them, then maybe you run this card. Recruitment Officer, 2/1, 1, 4, Gorilla Creature card mana. Oh, this card is excellent. This card is so good. Yeah. Anything that's going to get you value like this, it's a 1 mana 2/1 for free XP. They decided Savannah Lions was just like, nope. Oh my god. Not only is it a soldier, right? Oh yeah, it's a theme. Yeah. Not only is it a soldier, first off, it's a 1 mana 2/1, which that's Savannah Lions, right? But over time, right? Knight Errant or whatever it was, that was also a 1 mana 2/1, but also had abilities. And then they had this Knight from Throne that was a 1 mana 2/1 that was a Knight and had, when it died, you like +1/+1 counter on a Knight you control. This has even more abilities. This card is excellent because this can keep you drawing into stuff that you need. It prevents a white deck from flooding out. It's really, really good. So this would be a very high pick for your soldier deck. Dang. Even not for your soldier deck, you can do it for other stuff too, but it's even better in soldiers or like an aggro deck. Wow, it's really good. Oh, good card is good. All right, so repair and recharge, 5 mana, return target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker card from your graveyard to the battlefield, create a tap power stone. Okay, so it's zombify slash what is it? Reanimate? Not reanimate. The resurrection. That's the white version of this. That was 4 mana way back when. But this can target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker card instead of just creature. So soldier deck may equal aggro deck. Yeah. But I imagine it's also possible to build a combination 2-color aggro deck with white here too. So that's what I was saying. It could be not just mono white soldiers, but also another color. So if blue is that other color, I'm going to throw a shit fit because blue is never meant to be aggressive unless it's merfolk. Sorry. All right. Repair and recharge. Like, I can see this being great if you have a bomb to get back. So I'm not going to make a high judgment on it yet. I think it's mid, but I think it's based on what you have in your deck, and I don't think you necessarily run it in the aggro deck at all. There are giant robots, nice, but you got to get them in graveyard first. And you have to play them out then first, most likely, unless you have discard effect. Static Net. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2. Okay, so this is going to be good. It's going to be a high pick. It's going to be... I don't... so it creates a tap Power Stone token, which is nice, but it's 4 mana rather than 3. So I'm not sure how many of these versus how many of these I would want in a deck. I probably want 3 and 2 in an aggressive deck, maximum. But we'll see. Self-mill is a theme. Yeah, we did actually have this up here. The Airlift Chaplain. This is a way to mill 3 cards, and then you can use the repair and recharge if you have something massive. I just think that you're depending so much on those milling 3 cards to make this work in an aggressive deck. I feel like that's shouldn't be in the aggressive shell. Potentially. We'll see what they have, but I feel like it's probably better to just go for the aggression, and then this is like a mid-rangey build for something else. So, this is a higher pick. Survivor of Corliss, first strike, 1 mana, exile it from your graveyard, scry 2. Meh. Filler. Thopter Architect. It is value from the graveyard, but 1 mana, 1/1 first strike, not great. We'll see how much equipment they have to equip it up, but I don't think it's going to be a high pick under any circumstances, or even a medium pick. So, Thopter Architect, 4 mana, 2/3, when an artifact enters the battlefield on your control, target creature gains flying. Oh, that could be a very good card. She'll only fly once, make it count. Seriously. So, what? Net? My net? As a battlefield meet, so you're saying if they main deck artifact and enchantment removal, the net might backfire because of a mechanic I'll see later. Okay. Alright, good to know. I would assume it doesn't, yeah, anyway. Alright, anyway. Thopter Architect, yeah, that's gonna be a problem for a lot of decks. We'll see how prevalent flyers are, but if flyers are very powerful, end up being powerful, like they were in their Dominaria Sealed, then this is going to be a house of a card. But it'll still be upper mid or lower high, then it won't be high. Union of the Third Path. Draw a card, then you gain life equal to the number of cards in your hand. Me. That's filler. Warlord's Elite, unless there's like, we'll have to see if there's life gain synergies, but I haven't seen any yet. Warlord's Elite, yeah, this one looks like fun. I don't think I would put too many in there unless you have like the mill and the recommissions, but this could get out of hand. If there's like is there anything that does like puts 2 artifacts into play early? Is this is paying for an activated? No, that's a triggered ability. No, it's actually cost. Actually, it pays a cost. Power Stone Engineer can't cast this turn 3, huh? Not really, right? You tap this. Yeah, actually, you can do that. So you can go Engineer into Warlord's Elite, which is a really powerful start. So yeah, you play this turn 2, and you can play this turn 3. That's not bad. A 3 mana 4/4 and 3. I have a feeling that's gonna happen to me a lot. But yeah, good stuff. Tap 2 untapped artifacts, creatures, and or lands. Why would I need one more thing to tap? I would tap this and the Power Stone token that it made. Phalanx wasn't that amazing, but that's not on turn 3. Oh, right. It doesn't ETB this. This card isn't as good as I think it is, ever. Okay. You're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. It's no Jeweled Thief or whatever it was. Jewel Thief. Oh man. So what can I do on... So it can be recruitment officer. Like you can curve. If you have like the perfect curve, you can recruitment officer into any of the 2 drops, the paratrooper or the engineer here into the warlord's elite. Yeah. Or the survivor into that. I wouldn't run this just to get that online early though. It's just not enough of an impact on the board and from the graveyard. But we'll see about the equipment again. All right. Yoshin Medic. If it were easier to do this, I'd be interested. I'd be really interested in this card. Right now I'm not. I mean, curving out is best for the aggro decks, and we can maybe get there. We'll have to see about the rest of the 2 drops and 1 drops. So Yoshin Medic, 1 Yoshin Soldier, huh? So, but with lifelink. So Yoshin Soldier was a 3 mana artifact, 1/4, that had no abilities, but vigilance actually. Sorry, I think it had vigilance. Attacking doesn't count at the top, and that was huge at the time, way back when before there was dirt. But this is calling back to that card. This is lifelink though. Not bad, but not good either. It's not aggressive enough for what the white aggressive soldiers deck build wants to do, but it might be good enough for a more controlling build or mid-rangey build that runs that like repair and recharge. So yeah, Skila, maybe if it's a 2 mana artifact, yeah. So Air Marshal, now we're in the blue. Target soldier gains flying until end of turn, 2/1. Only target soldier. Okay, so we used to have like a one where it gave anything flying. But yeah, we were so old. Back in Antiquities. It was reprinted multiple times though. Including in Revised and Chronicles, and I think Chronicles. Revised definitely. Maybe? Yeah, okay. So again, I don't like the fact that this is blue. Why is the soldier deck blue? Anyway, okay. So I'm going to get over this. Watch me. Okay, so we have Air Marshal. That's a good 2-drop to have. Target soldier gains flying. You really mostly... I mean, I'm going to have to see how many soldiers there are in other colors, but you're mostly going to want this in a blue-white deck. And it is a good one to have, and we'll see how prevalent flyers are. But this might be, you know, your game winner eventually. So it is still a low pick, but it's definitely worthwhile in that deck. More than 1 green soldier. Oh god. Okay, anyway. Curate. We've seen this before. It's now Surveil 2 instead of the way it was worded previously in Strixhaven. Draw a card. We'll see about instant and sorcery synergies. For 2 mana, that's not a great return on investment unless you have instant and sorcery payoffs. Defabricate. Defabricate. Counter target artifact or enchantment spell if the spells counter this way. Blah, blah, blah. Counter target activated or triggered ability. All right. This, I mean, depending on how many artifacts are in the set, and I think there's probably a metric ton, this is probably going to be main deckable. Exiling is going to be probably really important because I'm sure Unearth is going to play a role. And so this will be a middle-high pick, like high end of middle, most likely. But we'll have to see about those artifacts. Yeah. You can counter delay trigger for Unearth to save your stuff. Yeah, you could definitely do that. Yeah. So it's a triggered on Unearth that goes on the stack when you unearth it that says sacrifice this creature at the end of the turn, or exile this creature at the end of the turn, and you can counter that. So you can save your unearthed creature. So can be fun. Desynchronize. For blue, target non-land permanence owner puts it on top or bottom of... Scry 2. Usually this effect is grip tied. It doesn't allow them to choose top or bottom. Usually it's the top only, and that actually is better because oftentimes it's better because you don't want them to be able to choose whether they want to draw it again. And it used to be at 4 mana. Then they print, so it was 3 and a blue for grip tied. Then they printed Totally Lost at 5, which did this, and then you get to scry 2 here instead. I usually don't like giving them the choice. I usually like time walking them, essentially. For top or bottom is a little... That's why I don't really like the or bottom here. It is non-land permanent rather than just creature. So... and you do get a scry too. So it's a little bit of a trade-off here. How slow this format is will determine whether this card is actually playable or not. The slower the format, the better this card will be. It will, to the extent that it can be almost overpowered if it's very slow. This doesn't look like a slow format to me, so I'm not going to rate this highly right now. From what I've seen so far. I could be wrong. For now, I'm going to put this pretty low. Maybe you run one if you have to, if that's... But we're going to see what other, tempo and removal blue has. You might have to run it. Falaji Archaeologist. I'm sure I'm mangling this pronunciation. Apologies. Archaeologist. 1 and a blue, 03. When it enters mill 3... Okay, so this is the... Okay. So this is Airlift Chaplain, mills 3. This mills 3. So each are trying to get value off of those unearthed cards. Okay. You like to synchronize because it depicts Teferi getting body slammed? Got it. So mill 3, you may put a non-creature, non-land card from among the cards milled this way into your hand. If you don't, put a +1/+1 counter on this. A non-creature, non-land. All right, so it's Augur of Bolus because it's gonna put them, but it does get you milling 3 card. So it's not putting them on their bottom. It's getting you some use by putting them in the graveyard. It's also a 1/4 if it doesn't, which is a fine early blocker if you're in a controlling deck. It's not a high pick, it's a low pick, but it is useful. And you can also build with the unearth around it. So, Flow of Knowledge, 5 mana, instant, draw a card for each island you control, then discard 2 cards. It does look like they're pushing for single monocolor at least, or at least the more of one color you have, the more you benefit from many of these uncommon spells. So, the discard 2 cards is weird though. For 5 mana, usually you draw 3. So if you had if you were monocolor, so 6, then discard 2. For 5 mana, that's not so bad. For, yeah, okay, card selection and 4. So this is definitely like the other one. I think this is more runnable in a deck because it still gets rid of like something with 2 mana, like a mana value of 2. It still gets rid of a potentially like just a creature. This is going to be really privileging you for going really monocolored. So I do like it for monocolored. I like it much less than I like this one for multicolor. Okay, so Forging the Anchor. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of artifact cards from among them and put the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is like the replacement for creatures because a lot of our artifacts are going to be our creatures. So this could be really, really good. It could be like a draw 3, or if you're me, you'll whiff. No matter how many artifacts are in your deck could be entirely artifacts, and you will still manage to whiff if you're me. So, good card. High mid. Involuntary cooldown. Tap up to 2 artifacts. Target artifacts or creatures, put 2 stun counters on each of them. 2 stun counters on each of them. Oh, but it's a sorcery. Still good, but it's a sorcery. So, yeah, I think that's going to be really necessary in blue. It's probably going to be a high mid pick too. You just need to buy time, but it's the controlling deck as well. Unless you might use it to win in the aggro deck, it might be like the top end, and you just try to win with that. An aggro tap to get the final points of damage in, perhaps. Keeper of the Cadence. So yeah, high mid. Keeper of the Cadence, 5 mana, 2/5. Put target artifact instant on the bottom of its. Okay, this is going to be actually really useful, I think, in the controlling decks. It's going to stop the Unearth onslaught, basically. So you're actually going to use this not only to bolster your, to maybe prevent yourself from flooding on occasion. On rare occasions, you'll prevent yourself from flooding, but on other occasions, you'll just make sure that your opponent doesn't get the value out of the Unearths in the graveyard. So it's not a high pick, but it may actually end up being more useful than it looks. So, still a mid or low mid pick, I believe, because it costs 5. You can't activate it right away, most likely. Koilos Rock, 5 mana, 3/3 flash flying. Okay, that's always fine. And create a tap Power Stone token. Okay, all right. So this one is a low mid pick. It is gonna that spirit that you had in both Shadows over Innistrad and what was it? It was also in the other Innistrad block. Was it Midnight Hunt or was it Vow? I think it was Vow. Was it Vow? Anyway, it does perform some usefulness, but because it creates a tap Power Stone token, and it has flash, I think it might be better than the than you'd average like, because again, it looks like it's the control-y deck, and it looks like it's building up to stuff. This is not the aggro, in my opinion. So I think it's probably actually up or low rather than low mid. I should be more specific. So yeah. So you might want to run 1 or so of these in the deck. Never more than that. And if you have better stuff, like, we'll see. But it's a fine one. It's a fine one. It's not completely unplayable. And it is occasionally going to be quite useful, especially if flyers are very powerful in this format. And I think it does provide the ramp that some certain decks really, really want with the controlling decks. So if you can like cool down into the rock to eat something and then play out a big artifact, that's probably game. We'll see. So, mono incentives right after main is weird. Latinum Adept, 4 mana, 3/3. When you draw a second card, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Interesting. How much card draw is there in this? I haven't seen any yet besides the flow, right? Have I? Oh, the curate. I see. But I don't want to run this just for that. That seems bad. I am not sold on this card yet. Machine over Matter. One cost, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. It costs 1 less to cast if you control an artifact creature. Okay. So, how many cards left to go for blue? Or how many cards left to go total? No idea total. And no idea blue. I assume we're getting close to the end of blue here. So, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand for 2, right? It costs 1 less, so it's an unsummon. If you control an artifact creature. I do like having tempo. We'll see how much ETB stuff there is and how much tempo will matter here. And how many counters on things there are. Because that's a really nice response to This thing is just to bounce it, right? Bounce the creature that it puts the stuff on, so they can't attack that turn for any value, and then go from there. But there's not a lot of counter stuff that I see here that I care about. So usually this card is just going to be a strong card. It's going to be a low mid pick. Just to have tempo for blue. Mightstone's animation 4, enchant artifact. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So there's another draw effect. Okay. Artifact is a creature with base power and toughness 4/4 in addition to its other types. That costs 4? And it does draw a card. But it's an aura. That's just asking for a 2-for-1, especially with this in the format. Okay, that's a low pick for me currently. It does potentially make another creature at sort of semi-haste speed toward late game. So, it may have more impact than I think it does. Like, so you make it, one non-creature artifact, right? Or a small artifact creature into a bigger artifact creature. And then you can send it because it's been in play. But if this doesn't land, that's so painful. That 2-for-1. So currently I'm not high on this. This is a low pick. Retrieval Agent, 4 mana, 2/5 with the Flowstone ability. Not a high pick here. Not for the aggro deck. Maybe a little for the control deck, but still 4 mana for a 2/5 is... We'll have to see whether that's great. Like, there were times when Oxen were great because they just had stats. They had a butt. I know it's a soldier, but it's still not a high pick for the aggro soldier deck. It's not at all. I don't think. Because this ability just costs too much to cast. You can find other things for better. Scatter Ray. Counter target artifact creature spell unless... Okay, this is going to be huge. 2 mana for counter unless it pays 4. Oh, that's going to make me sad. Usually this costs 3 to counter unless they pay 4. Gross. All right, it gets diminishing returns the later the game goes, but it still can really stop an opponent. So this is a good card in blue. Very good card in blue. Remember, though, that counter magic is only good when you're ahead or close to being ahead or like close to parity. It is not good when you're behind. So you have to keep that, in mind for this particular game. Split in limited. Splitting the Power Stone. Okay, we're splitting the Power Stone. Sacrifice an artifact. Create 2 tapped Power Stone tokens. If the sacrificed artifact was legendary, draw a card. What? Actually, I mean, this is probably okay given that there are a lot of, like, if they put this on an artifact, you could sacrifice the artifact and get 2 Power Stone tokens, I guess. So far, though, I'm not impressed with it. It's 3 mana, sorcery speed, sacrifice an artifact, and just get 2 tapped Power Stone. I don't know. I don't think this is good yet. So that's not a pick I'm gonna pick at all, basically. We'll see. Stern Lesson. Yeah, it seems really bad to me, too. Maybe we'll see something that makes it clear why it's in this thing, and maybe Power Stones are just so overpowered in this that 2 is just crazy. But we'll see. You could sack a Power Stone, but like 3 mana to get 1 mana that can only be used for certain things, not ideal. And it's not legendary, so you're not going to draw a card. So, yeah. Stern Lesson. Draw 2 cards and discard a card. Create a tapped Power Stone token. So, it's a worse divination, but you get a Power Stone token at instant speed. That seems okay. You're not going up much here. The thing is, you're spending a card to draw 2 cards. So you're up 1 card. But then you discard a card. So it's kind of breaking even with a tapped Power Stone token. So I am not that high on this. I've never been that high on divination itself, unless you have synergies, and unless it's a really slow format. So you're up a Power Stone, yes. So I'm not taking this card that highly. I don't think it's useless, but this is gonna be like on the high end of low picks. On the middle end of low picks, actually, even for me. That depends, actually. No, this discards a card. There's Unearth. There's Unearth. That makes this so much better. Okay, sorry. So actually, this is a high low end pick. So low end of high. No, sorry. High end of low. I can speak. High end of low or low end of mid. Because it has that discard a card and there is Unearth. So that actually gets you, instead of just losing out on the card, this actually gets you the potential to get value off of discarding a card. So that actually, this is better than I thought at first glance, because I forgot about Unearth. So that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is better than it looked at first glance. So take flight, 4 mana, +1/+1 has flying. Whenever this creature attacks, draw a card. Whoa. Okay, if it lands, it's really good, but it's still, again, a 4 mana aura. That is really prohibitive. But if it lands, you get that card right away. Just getting 2 for 1 is so brutal, though. I don't think this is a high pick. I think it's a mid to low mid. I know it just needs to attack, but this needs to land. You want to be very careful about what enchantments you put in your deck, auras, because again, it's the potential to be blown out. You know, asking for a 2 for 1 is so bad. Attack trigger is insane, yeah. But this is oh no, misunderstood. No worries. But yeah, so this, like, you have to be very careful and limited, because limited is about incremental advantages, right? And if you play a lot of cards that require you to have a creature out, and such as this, and you try to land this and they kill the creature, it's 2 for 1 and it's really painful. It sets you back so far. If this does land, that's great, but the fact that it costs so much mana to get this effect, right, is really pretty painful. You would much rather something like curiosity, or curious obsession or something like that, where it gets the pump and you get to do it when it does damage, because that's early and it happens. This could end the game. Like, it could do crazy things, right? That's why it costs 4 mana for this, but you have to, like, I wouldn't run that many of these, and I wouldn't take it that highly, just because it's dangerous. It's very dangerous to get 2 for 1 unlimited. So it's a fine card. It's really good on the trigger, but it has to land. And so it's going to feel really good when it does, and it's going to be so painful when it doesn't, because you spent a turn, almost certainly, right, doing that. And then you get 2 for 1, and then they swing back, and it's like, okay. Anyway, it's worth it. I mean, this trigger is probably worth the risk a lot of the time, but not all. It is rewarded for drawing 2 again. So this is another one that makes this Latnam a little bit better. But again, this is 4 mana. So if the next time you're doing this at 4 mana, you haven't really taken advantage of your mana flow. So if this were 3 and a 2/2, I'd actually be interested in it. More than I am. But yeah. Anyway. Third Path Savant. 3 mana, 2/3/7, draw 2. Ooh. Okay, so this is the series. Third Path Savant plus this little dude at the top here, the Paratrooper, where you're paying mana. If they give you mana sinks for late game, these are often going to be quite powerful. I don't mind this card. I don't think it's anything other than a low pick, but I think it's still good. Enough to run. It's not pure, it's not unplayable. So yeah. Another mana sink for your Power Stones. Absolutely. Yeah. So I think this is definitely absolutely playable. I think it's a high-low pick, but or a low-medium. It's on the cusp. But yeah, because it's a 2-3 for 3 still, like, and I don't know of any wizard synergies yet. Or human synergies, just soldiers so far. Thopter mechanic, 1 and a blue, 2/1. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a whoa. Yeah, seems good. That's just value. 2 mana for 2/1 is already like meh stats, but it's still decent. And then whenever you draw a second card, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and when it dies, you get value here. It's good. It's not amazing. It's not Fairy Vandal. Fairy Vandal, I think, is better than this, but it's still good. So yeah, so let's go Urza Power Stone Prodigy. Okay. Baby Urza. Oh, it's a legendary creature for our Lauren, Disciple of History. All right. What do you do? Vigilance 1/3 for 3. Pay 1 to loot. Whenever you discard 1 or more artifact cards, create a tap Power Stone token. This is going to be really, really good in the Unearthed decks. One of our 3 uncommon legends. Yeah, pog. Okay. So this is going to be very, very good in the Unearthed decks. Very good. In the Unearthed decks, especially that have a lot of artifacts with Unearth. I don't know if there are any artifacts with Unearth. I haven't seen anything in blue or white with Unearth, so I assume it's the artifacts that do, or in black, something else like that. But this looks really good to me. Its stats are unimpressive, but I still like it for stopping some of the early aggression in white. But also, I think this is really, really pretty lovely, and you can use the Power Stone tokens to pay for it. That's cool. So once you make 1, it pays for itself in the Power Stone token. So I like this card. I think it's good. I don't think it's, first pickable at all. I think it's I think you have to have a lot of Unearth already for that. So I think it's going to be upper mid pick. Urza's Rebuff. Worst case, solve flood. Yeah, totally. Yeah, Unearth or artifacts. Yeah. So Urza's Rebuff, counter target spell, tap up to 2 creatures. I like the versatility of this. That's better than cancel by a lot. I think this is actually playable where cancel really wasn't. So I think it's a low pick, but it is still a potential actual playable card as opposed to literally unplayable. So Weakstone's Subjugation, enchant artifact or creature, unless if they had bombs, you could run 1 cancel, right? But the fact that it can tap up to 2 target creatures is so good to add to that to make it actually playable card. So it's a low pick, but it's still playable. So Weakstone's Subjugation, enchant artifact or creature. When it enters the battlefield, you can pay 3. If you do, tap enchanted what? Oh, okay. So it's a sleep, but okay, and enchant artifact or creature. So if it isn't already tapped, you can pay the 4. If it is already tapped, you just pay the 1. Okay, so this is the blue removal. It is going to be fine. Bubble Sphere, yes. Yeah, only for 1 more, because Bubble Sphere wasn't it 2 in a blue? I forget. No, I might be wrong. But yeah, it's still going to be, what blue has to do a lot of the time to remove things that isn't just tempo. So, all right. Wing Commando, Flying Prowess 2/2. All right. Now we get a reward for casting instants and sorceries. There are going to be decks where this is going to shine. Wing Commando is fine. And this might be a reason to make Curate a little bit higher on the list. So, okay, that's good to know. So depending on how many Wing Commandos you get, that's how you're going to value in your draft. That's how you're going to value Curate. First get the Wing Commandos and then get the Curates, most likely. Okay, cool. And then so drawing your second card is really a theme. There are ways to do it. The looters are going to be fantastic for that deck. And there's a lot of payoffs so far that I've seen, that enough payoffs so far that I've seen that I like it. Absolutely. Okay. So I like the weak stone subjugation. I think it's going to be a medium, a low end of medium pick. And I think that's fine and playable. It might be higher depending on exactly how controlly you are. This is a more aggressive, like the two drops more aggressive things. More aggressive build. I don't know how much I'm gonna run this in it, but these are pretty nice with all three of these, like and this, and then the curate and machine over matter. That sounds fun. Okay. Yeah, Power Stone can pay the trigger. Yep. Wing Commander. So Zephyr Sentinel, 1 in a blue, 2 on flash flying, already really nice. For 2, I like it. Return up to 1 other target creature you control to its owner's hand. If it was a soldier. Okay, that's a really nice addition to the soldier deck because it can protect a soldier, and it can also protect, it can also get back something that has a soldier that has a nice ETB. So it can protect a soldier from a kill spell while adding to the board at the same time. For a 3/2 flyer, potentially, I like this card. This is very good in the soldier deck. And so, yeah, this is a very good card. It's probably a high mid pick. So I like it. And if you're already in soldiers, it's going to be a pretty high pick. All right. Ashnod's Intervention. Tell them to turn target creature gets +2/+0 and gains when it dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, return to owner's hand. Okay, so this is a way to save your unearthed creatures again, but it's also the normal, you know, kill something bigger and bring your own creature back, even if it doesn't have unearth. So, but you can also target your unearthed creatures such that when it, you know, would normally be exiled, right? So it gets exiled, but then it comes back. So, so that's nice. Okay. Battlefield Butcher. 5 mana tap. Each opponent loses 2 life. Oh god, Two-Headed Giant. Everybody, Two-Headed Giant's gonna love that. Oh man, that's good. 1 less to activate for each creature card in your graveyard. Yeah, I mean, there's a milling in this. Okay, all right. Yeah, and the Power Stones can pay this. I like this card. This is a pretty darn good card for 3 mana. And it's a soldier. Ah, yikes. This card is gonna kill me so frequently. Yeah. So I thought I like this card a lot. I think if the more you get of them, like with a lot of this stuff, the better. So I think this is gonna be a on the low end of high as a pick. Maybe mid end of high. So I like this. And for Two-Headed Giants, you want every single one of these you can get into a deck. It's so good. All right, Carrion Locust, 2/1 flyer, 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, exile target card from opponent's graveyard. If it was a creature card that plays, loses 1 life. You see this kind of effect in all the sets that have unearth and things like that, and graveyard synergies. This card is going to be, despite its like not very impressive stats, that's okay stats for a black card, but also the exile target card from a opponent's graveyard is actually going to be really, really important. So this is actually going to be a middle of the mid pick. Like it's gonna be higher than I ever really want to take it, but I think it's gonna shine a little bit in this. Just like the there was one creature that did the same thing in oh god, what was it? Was it another creature that exiled, like Carrion Imp or something like that? Anyway, it was important, and it was actually good in that format, much better than it looked. It was not dregs. It was like medium pick or medium low pick. But with a lot of unearth, this is pretty painful. So there. Oh, Corrupt. Okay, so here's your payoff. They brought Corrupt back. I'm gonna die to this card too. So this card is excellent in a mono black deck. Absolutely excellent. This is a high pick. If you're in mono black, or if you expect to be in mono black, if you're picking it early, it's going to be less of a high pick picking super early unless you're really just committing, but that's rough because it's like taking a huge multicolored card in draft. It's a risk. So you're going to, I mean, if you're already pretty much in black, it's going to be a super high pick. If you're pretty sure that black is open, it's going to be so high. But if you're like first picking first pack, it's going to be a little lower. Just because, again, it's going to force you to maximize this card. It's going to force you into black and to heavy black. So there's a caveat there, right? Like if black is open, this card is nutty. But if black is not open, so it is not a Zenith Flare under any circumstances. This is going to max out usually around 6 or 7. But that's often enough to kill whatever big creature they have or just kill them. So Zenith Flare, though, did like 11, 12, 13, 14 damage. That card, very different. So, but maybe you just flood out and the opponent hasn't killed you and you're like, I corrupt you entirely for 12 damage. But yeah, anyway. Disciples of Gix, 6 mana. Can't tell you how to landlord? Yeah, seriously. Disciples of Gix, 6 mana, 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for 3 artifact cards, put them into your battle graveyard and stuff. Blah, blah. Oh, I see. Okay. So this is basically a Buried Alive for 3 artifact cards for 6 mana on a 4/4 body on a stick. So it's not Entomb. It's Buried Alive. Buried Alive puts 3 creatures. This is 3 artifacts, but it's for 6 mana on a 4/4 body. Not bad for the larger, more controlling decks. It's not for I don't think it's for the aggressive decks. It does not seem to me to be good for the aggressive decks. Disfigure is going to be a high pick, depending on the. No, just period. It's a good combat trick and it's a good removal spell early. Disfigure is just always good. It's going to be a on the low end, the high end of medium most likely, or the low end of high. So Dreams of Steel and Oil. Look at that artwork. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, I agree. Disfigured is a good solid piece of removal. Yep, and an excellent combat trick. So. Dreams of Steel. So target opponent reveals your hand. Artifact or creature to choose a exile. Huh. And from their graveyard. Okay, this I might be interested in for this set. Okay, so normally my philosophy is any card like Duress or things like that is not usually worth running in limited. Because what you do is you pay a card to be down a card in your hand without impacting the board at all, right? And especially for Duress, you could literally whiff, right? And for something that takes only a creature, you could literally whiff, right? So when you hit, and you hit a bomb, it feels good. But when you hit and you hit something mediocre, it's just not good. It didn't impact the board. You're down a card. It's not good in limited usually. That said, Agonizing Remorse, right? And you're putting it as something in their graveyard, and if they have graveyard synergies, you're like, meh. But Agonizing Remorse, which exiled, cost 2, but you always hit because you can get something, right? And even if that thing was mediocre, it was exiled, so it wasn't coming back. And it was good in Strixhaven especially because there was a lot of payoff for casting instants and sorceries, and because there were a lot of it was a slow format, and there were a lot of big cards that you could take and really disrupt the plan. This might be good enough to run because it might get 2 effective pieces of value because it gets it out of the graveyard too, right? Artifact or creature, right? And there's a lot of artifact and creatures in this deck. So in the set. So I think this might be worth running. it gives you the full information about their hand, and you might be able to get both an unearthed card and something out of their hand. So it might be worth it being 2 pieces of value. Even though it doesn't impact the board, it's such a low cost. So this one I might actually be interested in playing this time. You might actually see me play this kind of hand disruption in a set that isn't Strixhaven. So we'll see, right? Because I don't like Pilfer. I don't think Pilfer was worth running in the latest set, for example, right? Other people will have different opinions than me on this. I know Ben S shares most of this opinion, but I know Numot was perfectly happy playing Pilfer. So everybody has different philosophies on this, but that's my reasoning and why I would say that. So emergency weld, 1 and a black, return target artifact or creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so it's raised dead, but it also has a 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature token there. Soldier. Okay, the soldier's important. All right. This probably is better than it looks in this set. I'd normally take it as like a 23rd or 24th card. But maybe it makes it to like 22. Who knows? It might in the soldier deck. It might actually be. So we'll see about like what stuff we can get back. Gixian Infiltrator, 2 mana, 2/1. Whenever you sacrifice another permanent. Okay, so there must be a sack theme. We'll see whether this is good. Evolving Wilds, definitely. Evolving Wilds, Gixian Infiltrator .deck. Yeah. That would be an interesting one. So, you know, but then it becomes a 3/2, which still trades down usually. We'll see. We'll see how many things we can sack. Gixian Skullflayer, 3 mana, 2/3, not impressive stats. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 3 or more... Oh. This sounds very good. This sounds perfectly combinable, like, with the Urza here, right? Any of the looters, this would be really good. And the millers, like the archaeologist. This sounds quite nice. Like I could get out of hand real fast. I actually like this card. So I think it's probably in a high end of low pick. So and in certain circumstances you're gonna want it on the like a low end of medium. Yeah. This is nice. Okay, so next 60. Okay. What? Go for the throat? Sorry. I got sorry. Gix's Caress, 3 mana. Reveals her hand. You choose a non-land card from it. The player discards that card. No, I don't like this at all. When in a format with Unearth, I hate this. This is awful. For 3 mana? No. I know you get a tap Power Stone token. I don't care. I'm sure somebody's going to prove me wrong with this, but meh. Felipe, thank you so much for the follow. I'm sure someone's going to prove me wrong with this, but no. Not in a format with Unearth. That's horrible. Opponents can be like, thank you. You just spent like half your turn at least, right? Maybe a whole turn, right? Yeah, this seems awful. So even if you'd get something without Unearth, it's still a creature card in their graveyard that could pump that thing we just saw, etc. So me. Gnawing Vermin, 1 mana, 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, target player mills 2 cards. That's going to be actually very useful, as we saw for the Unearth decks. It's pretty nice. When it dies, target creature you don't control gets... Yep, I mean, that's still useful. It's the little goblin, right? The festering goblin, but it also has target player mills 2 cards. So, like, it's like Stitcher, but, like, almost Stitcher. But now this card is going to see probably constructed play. I feel like. It's only 2 cards as opposed to 3, so Stitcher's still better. But it has, like, a little bit of a bonus here for that. And mill decks always, like, Graveyard Synergy decks always want more things than mill cards anyway. So, this is good. Go for the Throat is going to be worse in this set than it would be in, like, most other sets. But it's still stupid. So, take it. There's going to be a lot of times where you have this in your hand, though, and they have, like, a million artifact creatures, and you're just going to be like, this sucks. But it's still a very high pick. So this would be the middle of high. Middle to upper high. No, middle of high, because I want to save for the rares and stuff. So it's very, very good. But again, it's weaker in this set than most because there's so many artifacts. Gruesome Realization, 3 mana. You draw 2 cards and lose 2 life, or creatures your opponent controls get -1/-1/1 on turn. That's going to hose most of the soldier decks, I think. But most controlling decks are really going to want this because they just don't want to get overwhelmed. It has the versatility to be able to draw into cards and help you draw that extra card per turn for blue. And there's a lot of 1/1 soldiers, so this you just don't get overwhelmed. So any deck that's a little bit controlling and is running black is going to want the Gruesome Realization, and it's good. So you have to see where you are. It's not going to be a hugely high pick unless you are already sort of planning to be controlly, but that's, yeah. So like upper mid. Gurgling Anointer. Gurgle. 3 mana, 1/3 flyer. Already, that's fine. With as long as it has extra stuff. Gurgling. Gurgles. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1. Oh god. Okay, yeah, that's beautiful in that deck. When it dies, return another target creature card with mana value less than or equal to its power from your graveyard to the. This card is sick. Yeah, I love this card. And I love it in combination with that. This card is great with, oh god. The draw and extra, this is so much fun. All right. If it weren't so ugly, I'd be super happy about it. But yeah, this card is a low end of high or high end of mid to me. I really like this card in that deck particularly. If you don't have a lot of ways to draw your second card, I don't really like it. But unless there's equipment that pumps power, in which case you're still going to want this, because when it dies, you just keep getting stuff back. So I think this is a high end of mid or low end of high. This seems good. Gurgling Annoyer, yeah. Killzone Acrobat. 3 mana, 3/2. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact or creature. If you do, it gains flying until end of turn. Interesting. Not impressive. It's fine. There is that thing. Sorry, I'm gonna have to go to the bottom so I can get back one page, and go to the bottom again here. There is this little. Oh my god! Wow. Okay. So yeah, there we are. There is this infiltrator here, which does have that sacrifice bonus. And this is the first time we've really seen a bunch of something that we can pay off for that. And we do have that thing that creates a token, a soldier token, artifact token. So, this is going to be an interesting card. It's never going to be a high pick ever. It's never going to be a medium pick ever. But it could actually be playable on the mid end of low, because of those synergies. So we'll see. When you first look at it, it's unplayable, but given that it's a soldier, given that that there are sack synergies, it's possible. Gurgling has flying, yeah. Moment of Defiance. 3 target creature gains +2/+1 and gains lifelink until end turn. Draw a card. I don't really like this one. I haven't seen any lifelink synergies, and +2/+1 is not really impressive for saving a creature. Most of the time. Draw a card is good with this. I would run this like as a 23rd, 24th card with this in the deck, and a bunch of the other, like whenever you draw a card, get whatever, draw 2, second card per turn is blah, right? But it's really late pick. And I'm not even sure it's playable for 3 mana. If it were +2/+2, I might consider it, but still for 3, even though it replaces itself, it's okay. All right, No One Left Behind, 5 mana. This spell costs 3 less to cast if it targets a creature card with mana value 3 less. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Yeah, I mean, it's a slightly more expensive Zombify, but it can be, it can cost less if you have something crazy to get back with value 3 or less. And if you have a big bomb, you're gonna want one of them, I think. And if you have a 3 mana bomb or 2 mana bomb or 1 mana bomb, you're gonna want it. one of them. I don't know that I'd run 2. Unless I had like multiple bombs, but yeah. Overwhelming Remorse, 5 mana, costs 1 less to cast for each creature. Yes, this card's gonna be good. This card's going to be good. It's gonna be good black removal. It's not gonna be great black removal, but it's good black removal. Okay. Power Stone Fracture, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Alright, so you can sacrifice Power Stones to this. That's really nice. Creature or planeswalker for 2 mana, and the artifact or creature is pretty good. I like this. It's gonna be middle of the road. Because we produce so many Power Stone tokens to be able to sacrifice, I think it's middle of the road, and it's quite nice. Ravenous Gigamole. Mole, mole, mole. Okay, here's another mill 3. Can put a creature card from among the cards into your hand. But so this isn't a Gravedigger because it has to be among those 3 cards. If you didn't mill a creature card with that way, you can't put it in their hand. You're going to get a 3/4 for 4, which is underwhelming stats. But again, you're going to get some cards in the graveyard, and you might get value. So it's a low pick. Ravenous Guacamole. So it's a low pick. Thrawn Vigil. To whenever one or more artifacts under creature cards leave your graveyard during turn. Ooh, I'm never going to know how to value these until I play. Sometimes they can just be too little investment for too little reward for the investment of a card. Yes, the Unearth makes it happen, right? But it's just 1+1/+1 counter for a whole card and 2 mana. Each time this happens, we'll have to see how many Unearths it has. We'll see. But again, I don't know how to value that one. I suspect it'll never be first pickable, certainly. But yeah, we'll see whether it's even middle of the road or even playable at all. Thraxidemon, 2 mana, 2/2, sacrifice another creature or artifact, draw a card. Okay, so this is a good. Oh, but it has tap. That's a little bit of a drawback, but it is common and a bear anyway. And just bear with upside is probably fine to play. I'm not going to pick it highly. It's going to be like probably a middle end of low or upper end of low, just because it does have the sacrifice synergies to put creatures in the graveyard. We like creatures in the graveyard. So, Frick Morris, thanks you so much for the follow. So it's going to be an interesting one, but the fact that it has to tap, unlike like the Mogus one from Fate Reforged, I think it was. Was it Fate? No, not. Yeah. No, Born of the Gods. Born of the Gods, I think. Power Stone pays the ability, then gets sacked. Yeah. But the tap here, the Mogus familiar, whatever the Mogus is one was a 2/3 black enchantment creature from Born of the Gods, I think, which paid 2 and a black to sacrifice a creature, draw a card at colon, but didn't have to tap. The tapping is a little rough, but the fact that it's already a bear is really probably makes up for that, and it's a 2. So I think this is it's a late pick, but it's like a high late pick. No, middle late pick. Trench Stalk. Well, it depends on how many. If you have a ton of like sacrifice synergies already, then yeah. Trench Stalker. Maybe a high late pick. Trench Stalker. 5/4/5. As long as you draw 2 or more cards, it has Death Touch and Lifelink. Okay. All right. That's gonna be. That reminds me of the like 4/5 that when you played a Soul Reaper of Mogus. That's what it was. Yeah. Okay. This reminds me when the 4/5 that like literally was just a 4/5 from a particular set. I forget what it was. It was a little, just like a 4/5. But when you played a land, it could gain indestructible or something like that. It was like 5. Was it 5/5 and gains indestructible? Oh, something like that. This may be better than it looks. It's got the 2 or more cards, Death Touch and Lifelink. So it's still filler. So it's still a low pick. And it's still a very low pick. But, there will be times when this card is just what you need and it's just serviceable. Like it's just there. So I mean, Death Touch Lifelink is not bad. You'd rather use your, drawing extra cards on some other effect, but Meaning you'd rather have a different of those, like, draw an extra card creature benefits, but if you got this, you got this, right? It's just not a great investment for 5 mana, so low pick. But not unplayable. And it may be better than it looks like that other one.